My co-host Christy has stopped at the grocery store line to ask how to become an airline pilot. So we're going to talk about all the different ways on this Taking Off podcast. Hello and welcome to the Taking Off podcast. I'm Dan Milliken.
And I'm Christy Wong.
All right, Christy, it sounds like I'm joking, but I'm not. You get asked a lot, different people saying, how do I become a pilot? And the problem is that there's not one answer.
Right, exactly. There's not like a generic, okay, this is how you do it. Everybody's situation is different. And I think that's what the public is realizing when they start Googling stuff. So a lot of times they want coaching from somebody that's been there and done that. So my DMs have been filling up.
So let's do this. I've written out some different scenarios of situations that I'm going to toss to you to see what you think the path would be to become an airline pilot with these different specific cases.
Oh my!
But for the future, if you guys who are listening on the podcast outlets, go to our YouTube channel. And for those who are listening to the YouTube podcast, leave a comment on this video about your situation if you're thinking about becoming an airline pilot. And we'd love to kind of see what the other scenarios are out there other than the handful that I've got ready for Christy here, who has not seen them.
I have not. I'm actually... I'm on the
You're
spot.
nervous, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so Christy, I'm 18 years old. I'm a high school graduate, just graduated. I was involved in the aviation program in the high school. Now I really do want to go to the airlines. What's my next step?
All right. Did you obtain your private pilot certificate while you were in high
Not
school?
yet, but I took a few flights.
Okay. So the first thing I would ask is the financial situation for college. Are you having to go take out student loans? Are your parents helping? What does that look like?
Let's say I am on my way to college, a mixture of scholarships, parents, and also working a part-time job.
Okay. Is the college that you're going to, does it offer an aviation degree?
Yes.
Is it a 4-year university or a 2-year college?
4-year.
4-year university. Okay. And you've got a mix of scholarships and whatnot. So, I mean, yeah, at that point, that's pretty straightforward. You're going to go into the aviation program. You're going to study hard, get your certificates. And then once you get your flight instructor certificates, you can start building that time toward the 1,500 hours. The really great thing about going to a university that offers an aviation program is most likely you'll be a 141 flight school. Which means that you'll be eligible for the
lower minimums.
Restricted ATP.
Right.
So you'll be eligible for a restricted ATP at 1,000 hours as opposed to the 1,500 hours. There's pros and cons with that. The pro is that, of course, you'll be eligible at 1,000 hours. The con is that by the time you hit 1,000 hours, you might not be old enough, or you might still have a year or two left of college that you'll need to finish before you can actually go into the airlines with that 1,000 hours. So realistically, you might have more than 1,000 hours by the time you go to the airline.
Okay. All right. Now I'm 20. I'm in college, but it's college that I'm paying 100% of my way through. So but nobody's helping me. I'm by myself. I would like to become an airline pilot. But I'm not even sleeping between full-time university and working.
Are you in a 4-year
Yes.
college? Okay, so you're in a 4-year...
That does not have aviation.
Okay, and so you're looking at taking up flying on the side.
So I met one of the guys at church who is an instructor at a nearby airport, and I love the idea of, hey, I could start getting my pilot's license.
So honestly, at this point, you've got 2 things going against you: time and money.
Correct.
So what I would highly recommend is that you start saving up now, and you can do other things to prepare you for your path. But I would not suggest that you start flying right now because it's just going to take a lot more time and a lot more money. It's going to take away from your current studies. It could hurt you right now. I would finish your degree, start working, and save up money so that you can then start flying.
Interesting. By the way, that was me.
Really?
Yeah, that one was me. I was 20
Oh.
years old at University of Texas at Arlington, and I wanted to learn to fly. I met a guy at church who was an instructor at the nearby field, and
So it sounds like you took my advice.
I did. I couldn't afford it. I didn't have the time or the money.
Yeah, I was going to say, so like, let's just talk about the different scenarios that you could have done. You could have taken out a loan and done that, but I mean, you were already like working all the time
Yeah.
and going to school. Flying is not one of those things that you can just do as a hobby on the side. You really have to commit yourself to it. Like, you have to eat, live, and breathe flying, especially as a student pilot. So I would make sure that you are in a place financially and a place where you can commit the time to being able to dedicate yourself to it.
All right, now I'm 23 years old. I just graduated college, but I hate the degree field that I picked. I really do want to. I've always kind of in the back of my mind loved planes and aviation. I'd like to become a professional pilot. I haven't done step one yet, so but I've graduated and I have a job that's paying okay, but I hate it.
Okay. I mean, that was actually kind of me back in the day, back in 2007.
Well, I've got you coming up later, by the way.
Oh, God. So it's a similar thing. Put yourself in a position to where, you can afford it, so save up some money. I'm not opposed to taking loans if the return on investment is going to be good. But I'm really cautious about telling people to take out loans for flying when they don't know that long-term it's going to pay off. So I would say save up money and put yourself in a position to where you can afford the time as well as the flight lessons. I'm a huge proponent of, if you're going to get your private, do it within 6 months, because that's probably what's going to save you the most money.
So if the pace that I can only afford, both in money and time, is a 2-year pace, it's not a good idea.
Correct.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I would agree 100%. Just save up the money, take a little extra time, and then full send.
Okay, I'm 29. I've been married for a couple of years. No kids yet. But again, would like to make a career change over to airline pilot. What do I need to do?
Okay. I mean, so again, I'm always going to say it starts off with, where are your finances? You said you're married but no kids?
Married, no kids.
Okay. Is your spouse on board with this idea?
Let's say yes.
Okay.
For this scenario.
All right. For this scenario, then, I mean, that's an easy choice. You sit down together, you make out a plan. Are you, and that includes the idea of, are you wanting to have kids, and things like that. So, and some people don't want to have kids, and that's perfectly okay. But some people do want to have kids. And so you have to factor that in as well. I have a friend right now, he's married now. Him and his wife are early mid-30s, and this is exactly what he did. He did the change, but now he's married and they're planning on having kids. So now he's at that point where he's like, got to make some, decisions on, where am I going to go professionally with this? He had to, I don't want to say make some snap decisions, but he did have to make some pretty extreme decisions in the last couple of years. And fortunately now it's paying off, but, you have to have your spouse on board with you, and your finances have to be in order together in order for you to be able to pursue this full time.
And you got to be able to know that there's going to be a season of peanut butter and jelly.
Right, exactly. Well, and that's why I said your finances have to be in order. It's and that's the other thing too. A lot of people don't realize, like, especially when it comes to this, we need to normalize living a simple life. We need to normalize it being okay that for a season, you're going to eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, or you're not going to be able to go out to eat with friends. You're not going to be able to go on vacation for a couple years or whatever, because you're sacrificing to get to the airlines or professional, whatever, sooner.
Okay. So now a flight attendant, female,
Okay.
Let's say 40, and has a 20-year-old that's already out of the house.
Okay.
But would really like to move from the cabin up to the flight deck, and has a private pilot certificate that she has worked hard on over 2 years, and it took her scrambling for that.
Oh, gosh.
Her husband's on board with it, but they live paycheck to paycheck. What's her path to the flight deck?
I mean, this one's going to be a little bit more difficult, just because This is not something where, okay, I get done with work and now I can go do my flying lesson, or I can get up early and go do my flying lesson before work. Because when you're working in the airline industry as a pilot or as a flight attendant, you're gone for work. When you're gone, you're gone. And then there's the financial aspect as well. So one of a couple of things that I would suggest here is I know that some airlines will allow flight attendants to take a leave of absence, especially if it's to help promote them, to further their flight training. It may be something where this flight attendant needs to reevaluate her job choices for the time being. She may have to sacrifice. She may need to, go get another job, maybe something that pays more, or maybe even take on 2 jobs for a season. This is not forever, but for a season. If they're paycheck to paycheck, that one's going to be tough. And if the husband is really supportive,
maybe he takes a second job.
Right. Maybe he could go do DoorDash or Uber or something to help support that. If they're doing it for a shared goal, which is going to pay off for both of them in the long run.
Yeah.
But maybe the husband, if he's willing to do that to help her, pay her way through flight school. But again, I think when you're living paycheck to paycheck like that, a big thing you need to do is you need to sit down and evaluate your own finances. You kind of need to do your own financial audit and say, where is my money going? Because a lot of times we don't realize it, but a lot of times we're spending money on a lot of garbage and stuff that we don't need to be spending. A lot of people, I watch this other YouTube channel where they actually look at finances, and most people are spending $1,000 a month on eating out.
Wow.
So imagine if you just didn't eat out and you went through a season, say 6 months, if you were one of those families or people that's spending $1,000 a month, you could save $6,000 just like that by not eating out, by not going to Starbucks, by whatever,
Whataburger.
Yeah, well, it's a death by 1,000 paper cuts. It's one thing if you can afford it. It's another thing if you can't afford it, or if you are wanting to prioritize your finances to something else like flight training. That's going to be a big deal.
Okay. What would you say to the 50, let's say, calculate this. What would you say for the guy who is 58, the kids are flown the nest, empty nester, and has not liked his career and now wants to, maybe in the sunset here, become an airline pilot? Does he have time? Is it worth it? What and how would he do it?
Okay. If he has the opportunity to just full-time flight training, if he can bang out all of his ratings, certificates, and get through the 1,500 hours within 2 years, then yes, I would say he has time.
Within 2 years. Okay.
Within 2 years, yeah. Because, you can fly for Envoy, for example. I know Envoy has hired 60-year-olds previously. One of the guys that was in my class was in his late 50s. And
wow.
He's just staying with Envoy for his entire, to live out his career. He's living his dream. This guy exemplifies pride in the uniform, pride
wow.
in the profession. He's amazing.
What was he doing before?
Oh gosh, I don't even. Oh.
Was it something he liked or something he hated?
I don't think it was something he particularly cared for necessarily,
okay.
especially if he changed careers, but I can't remember what he did. I just remember him, me and him talk, and we still keep in touch. He's one seniority number below me. He's a really great guy, but it's funny because on Facebook, I see him post these pictures. And you guys think I love the 175. You think that I'm proud to be where I'm at. This guy is 2 levels above me. He's just so proud because he waited an entire lifetime to get here. Now here he is living the dream, truly living the dream. So you can do it, but you have to be willing to sacrifice the time, the money, the effort. It doesn't matter if you're 18 or 58. You got to be able to go through a season of sacrifice if this is what you want to do.
It's interesting that you say the age 58. Every situation will vary, and you can't put a cookie cutter thing on it. But 58 sounds like about the line you might draw today, unless they extend the retirement age.
Potentially. I'm just saying 50.
Especially if you can do 2 years, because that puts you at 60 and that gives you 5 years at the airlines.
Correct. And
So-
and that's the only reason. I mean, you said late 50s or
Yeah.
whatever. And I'm throwing it out there just because, I mean, I don't want to say that like, yeah, 60 is a cutoff, but I also want to stress that, let's say that you only get, 5 years with the airline, you retire as of right now, the retirement age is 65. If you get your flight instructor certificates, you can flight instruct, you can go corporate fly. I mean, there's so many options
Yeah, it's
past that
after
65
yeah.
that you can do. But if you go in and even if you only have like a 5-year airline career, that's a really fulfilling career that you could have. I mean, if that's really what you want.
Okay, let's say a guy is in his late 40s, has an IT job that he hates or it's going away, and
Wow, that
let's
sounds
just
familiar.
say let's just call him Brian, for instance.
We'll call him Ryan.
Ryan, yeah,
Ryan.
with a Y.
Ryan with a Y.
And but the wife is also working and supportive of stuff, but his kids are now entering teenage years. They're going to be going to college soon, everything else. What advice do you give him for making the switch? He already, by the way, our example here, this fictitious Ryan has a commercial pilot's license and has
And he's got his
800
multi.
and a what?
He's got his multi.
He's got his multi and 800 hours.
I'm going to say that Ryan has approaching 1,300 hours.
Oh, 13. Oh, that's right. What am I thinking? I just shortchanged you by 500.
I know.
In our fictitious example here.
Ryan. Okay. Well, the first thing that
1,300.
So the first thing I would tell Ryan is number one, obviously his spouse needs to be on board with it because again, no matter what, unless you hit the lottery or you come from a very affluent background where you're going to have a lot of financial help with this, there will be a season of sacrifice. And that means everybody is going to sacrifice with you. And so as long as, Sharon, his spouse is, on board with it, then I would give him very similar advice. Buckle down. He's already done the hard part. He's got all the ratings and all the requirements minus that 1,500 hours. And he's only a couple hundred or so hours away from it. So I would say that what he needs to do is he needs to partner with some people that maybe need safety pilots. Maybe he goes and gets a second part-time job flying. Since he's got that commercial certificate, he's got over 1,000 hours and tons of really great references from people that know him and can vouch for his flying. I'm assuming.
Yeah,
I'm assuming.
Yeah, right.
But the other thing that I would have told him is to go get his flight instructor certificates, which I told him to do because then that would be the perfect quote unquote part-time flying job. That would be so easy. He wouldn't be paying for flight time. He'd be getting paid to fly and he'd be getting paid to help others also achieve their goals. And there's really a sense of like satisfaction that comes from within when you're a flight instructor. And this is something you've wanted to do your whole life. And now you're able to pass that on to other people. There's just a whole other layer that comes with it. But instead of stressing out about where am I going to get my flight time from? Like, I don't know, Ryan, when we talked on the phone the other day, you're like, well, I'm burning through my aviation funds. And then I tell him, hey, you wouldn't be doing that if you were a flight instructor. But
Okay.
in
our fictitious example. Yeah.
In the fictitious example. And I'm not telling everybody that you have to go out and be a flight instructor. I know some people are going to be like, well, some people just don't want to teach and whatever. And I get that. And to be very honest, I didn't want to teach initially either.
And then you found out you loved it.
And I love it. I love being able to give back to other people. But I also acknowledge that some people should not teach. But fictitious Ryan is not one of those people. I think he has a lot to offer. And I think he'd be a wonderful flight instructor.
Yeah, and in my fictitious model, I think so too. You use the term a season of sacrifice quite a bit. So with somebody beginning flight training, how long does a season of sacrifice take and how much does it cost these days?
Okay. It depends on how much you're willing to sacrifice and the efforts that you're willing to put in. There's a lot of things that you can do to cut back on the cost of flight training. YouTube is a huge thing. I mean, I started flight training at the beginning of 2017, and just in the few years that I started flight training, I mean, there's just so much more information out there. I remember trying to look up maneuvers for stuff and not being able to find videos on how to perform specific maneuvers. I remember watching like the UND flight school. They had a lot of really great training videos, and I would just watch those over and over again.
And now there's a ton of
just
that stuff.
1,000 videos now of that exact maneuver that I was looking for that one time. So, there's just so many different free resources out there for people, and get involved in your community, connect with other pilots. But either way, there's a lot of free things that you can do, but also the first thing you need to do, one of the things that I did when I was going into this journey, was I sat down and looked at my finances, and I said, okay, what debts do I have? I only had a little bit of credit card debt. It wasn't a lot. I had student loan debt. My car was paid off, but like I came to some very serious, forks in the road along my way when it came to finances. I can buy a new car, or I can pay for flight training and buy this airplane. And, I can go pay for this vacation, or I can pay for, this flying, or, it's just, I could pay for my multi, just stuff like that. And now looking back on it, I realized that I mostly made the right decisions when it came to my finances, because I decided to forego those, vacations and forego those things and get the multi and get the, what I needed to get done. Because now I'm in a financial position to where now all my debt is paid off. My flying career has paid off all my student loans. I have zero debt except my mortgage. I still own the same car. So, but I'm okay with that. I don't have a car payment. Like, I look back now and realize that the season of sacrifice that I went through was totally worth it.
Yeah.
And it set some really healthy financial habits as well, because, you and I've kind of talked about it before already, but like, I don't go out to eat for a lot of reasons, but, money is one of those reasons.
Right.
So I do a lot of home cooking and stuff. And like, I've just set myself up for financial success. But a lot of that came through, building those habits while I was flight training. I realized that I was going to have to sacrifice if I was going to be able to afford it.
All right. Great advice. So hopefully if you're out there, you're thinking about a career change, or if you're thinking about getting into it because you're young and ready to go, then I hope this has been helpful.
Yeah. And if you guys seriously want to discuss a specific situation and you're willing to put your situation in the comments below, I mean, go for it. Like, we'll talk through it. Why not?
Yeah, we'll look at it. Okay, well, thank you. And thank you to our sponsors. Please check them out. Supporting them really does help us in a big way. And like Flying Eyes glasses, go to flyingeyesoptics.com, use our discount code, taking off all caps, one word, for 10% off. 67 designs. These mounts are incredible. They're all made in the U.S. Each item that comes out of 67 designs is touched by, on average, 22 times by hand. So, I mean, these things are really, really good. It's not just some, Asian import that has been slapped on with a logo. So good quality. 67D.com. Marshall Protective Services, personal protection elevated. MPS protects.com. Clemens Insurance, clemensinsurance.net. When I moved over to Jerry knew how to do the system, and saved me a lot of money when I moved over to him. And then Z Vision, xevision.com, the brightest landing and taxi lights out there. So if you're looking for a mortgage, check out coltontakingoff.com. All our sponsors are run by pilots. So we like to keep it in the family, as it were.
Pilot people doing pilot things.
Yep. All right. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next time on the Taking Off podcast.